Hello, and thank you for the honour of delivering this keynote address to your conference. I thank and acknowledge the conference organisers, chair, university officials, invited dignitaries, delegates and students. I also wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land where I have written and delivered this address, the Kumba people of the Yugambeh language group of Indigenous peoples in Australia, and to their elders past, present and emerging. I also acknowledge the communication, ethical codes and legal practices that they developed over tens of thousands of years, and the cultural rules underpinning human communication in all countries internationally, including Sri Lanka. This paper introduces some strategies for enabling students and colleagues to reflect mindfully when engaging in their communication and education. In doing so, it attempts to lay some foundation stones for proposing such strategies, offering the intellectual narrative of their conception and development. Of course, this short address is only an abbreviation of the longer academic paper that the organisers can make available for you. Over the past decade, I've been exploring the possibilities for mindful reflection in journalism, a concept I first raised in my UNESCO World Press Freedom Address in Auckland in 2013. That and a follow-up article on mindful journalism in an academic journal led to an approach by the pioneer of this field, the late Professor Shelton Gunaratne, to join him and our colleague Dr. Sugath Senarath in the editing and authorship of the book Mindful Journalism in 2015, where we expounded upon how the various steps of Buddhism's Noble Eightfold Path could underpin a more mindful approach to news gathering, selection and reporting. In those 9 years since its publication, I've attempted to develop strategies for applying mindfulness techniques in journalism, communication and legal education to help students and colleagues forge solutions to ethical dilemmas that might constitute a genuine middle way. I thank Dr. Senarath and the organising committee for inviting me here today to discuss some of those practical tools for use in the communication and education contexts. As my new book explains, professional communicators and educators can draw upon a range of reflective tools, including variations of mindfulness-based meditation techniques expounded by the Buddha 2,500 years ago, to help them take a considered and purposive approach to ethical and legal decision-making. But Buddhism does not have a historical monopoly on the art of reflection. Socrates describes self-examination as central to a virtuous life. The English philosopher John Locke summed up the practice we now know as metacognition, being consciously aware of one's own thinking and doing. And this is similar to the secular approach developed 3 centuries later by educationalist Donald Shern, whose research aimed to equip professionals with the ability to make crucial decisions in the midst of practice, which he called reflection in action. The application of mindfulness-based meditation to morality and by extension to professional ethics echoes the concept of right conduct in the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Kammanto, which involves a call to understand one's behaviour more objectively before trying to improve it, and to reflect on actions with an eye to the motives that prompted them. Communicators and educators need to reflect in action upon ethical dilemmas as they arise in the midst of their work. A lack of such reflection can lead to unnecessary harm to others. Unethical behaviour can exacerbate the trauma that victims have already encountered in shocking news events. Unlawful practice can bring reputational or financial damage to others, and awards of damages or even jail terms for the offending communicators. Another crucial reason why it is important to engage in some method of careful reflection before making an ethical or legal decision is the mental health of the communication professionals and educators themselves. In my recent book, I stress the importance of students identifying their own unique moral compass, their sense of right and wrong behaviour that can stem from a combination of a host of factors, including one's upbringing, religion, and values, along with their professional ethical codes. This is a vital starting point before they start thinking about the morality and ethics of a decision. As an exercise, I ask students to sit for a few moments to reflect upon the influences upon their own moral decision-making, and then draw their unique moral compasses, attributing the 4 main points on the compass to the 4 prime influences on their moral decisions, with the lesser points representing other facts. And I use my own moral compass from my own life as an exemplar or an example for them. I suggest this is a worthwhile starting point as an exercise for all of us, teachers, students and practitioners. And this is because psychological studies of trauma have uncovered the notion of moral injury, where individuals feel they have compromised their moral compasses through their unethical behaviour and blame themselves for the harm that has resulted when the professional expectations of an employee was at odds with that individual's moral principles. So students need a toolkit of techniques for inward reflection they can use to assess their thought processes, emotional states, workplace situations, learning, and most importantly, their ethical and legal decision making, so they can put that in the context of their own moral compass and perhaps professional ethical codes or laws that might apply. The answer to pausing to identify the red flags that might represent an ethical or a legal dilemma lies in developing a routine system of reflection. These might be reflection upon situations or emotions which, once they present themselves, trigger the need for such mindful reflection. Obviously, the key here is being able to identify this problematic emotion or situation, to red flag it, and then to pause to weigh an appropriate ethical and legal course of action. And the approach calls upon students and communicators to pause to adopt the various elements of the Eightfold Path into 8 steps of mindful reflection. And I don't have time to go into each of them in this summary address, but one example is the wise speech step, Samavaka, which leads into poor communication in the area of speech or other forms of communication, and in media law, of course, into defamation. So the student or practitioner might pause to reflect before speaking and ask, how might I improve this communication to minimise risk? And not just speaking, any form of communication. They would then reconsider their words in any such communication to decide whether they can refine and edit them, or perhaps not use them to conform with ethical and legal requirements. We put all of this into practice in a pilot research project at my university, where mindfulness-based reflections were offered regularly during a media law course, with a strong emphasis upon emotional and situational analysis of media law dilemmas. There were a variety of responses to surveys after these courses from 90 students to the mindfulness reflection experience. And some saw it as invaluable for their learning lives and careers. They said they were reviewing in more depth, raising a mental flag on sections which were still unclear, giving a moment to understand the course better, to consolidate their learning, and giving and helping information to sink in and to consolidate that information. And numerous respondents highlighted the mental health benefits of the practice. Some students commented on the pause and reflect function and its benefits. One said, "It made me realise that many times before making a decision or judgment, I did not stop to think or consider my actions." Another said it trained them to step back and assess an area or myself before venturing into a position or a stance or an opinion. This was metacognition in evidence, thinking about their own thinking, and reflection in action actually happening. Such accounts offer encouragement to those incorporating pause and reflect exercises in their textbooks and in their classes. They give hope that some instruction in this might assist students to actually execute those strategies when encountering occupational dilemmas after graduation. So in this summary of my full paper, again available from the organisers, we have journeyed through some of the ideas of mindfulness in its modern educational context, and having established its roots in Buddhism and philosophy, we've learned how we might map our own moral compasses. We've looked at the relationship between mindfulness-based meditation and mental health, and its potential for offering resilience to post-traumatic stress for journalists reporting tragic and gruesome stories. We've outlined mindfulness-based meditation as a tool for ethical decision-making, and we have reviewed a recent pilot project where students reported the pros and cons of engaging in mindfulness-based meditation in the media law curriculum. Much is still to be explored in the application of this 2 millennia-old practice to tertiary education and communication and educational practice. I hope some of you are interested enough to undertake research to shed further light on this enlightening path with so many potential benefits. And I thank you again for this opportunity and welcome questions.